Yep, so let's head to the basic information, your major. What's your major?
Yeah, so I'm a business administration major at UC Berkeley.
Okay. And what was your transfer GPA?
4.0.
Oh wow, that's impressive. Okay. So where did you apply and what are the results?
Yes, so I applied to mostly all of the UCs except Riverside and Santa Cruz. I got into all of the UCs for business administration, business economics. For Santa Barbara, it was econ and accounting. I applied to Michigan. I applied to three schools in Texas, and all of those I got in.
Oh wow.
Mhm. And then also, I applied to Cornell. I did not get into Cornell because I was lazy. I didn't finish the application.
Well, what classes did you take at IVC?
Yeah, so I was in the honors program. So one of the criteria of the honors program was to take up to 5 honors classes throughout your time at IVC. So I strategically placed out and mapped out those classes to match with my IGETC. So I took like music, I took communications just in case I wanted to go to a Cal State. I took some type of business law class, and all of those translated as my IGETC non major units. And I followed the business administration / business economics track. So when I first got into IVC in the summertime, I spoke with Michelle Winkler, who was the honors program counselor, and we
Oh,
mapped out a strategy, a map for me to complete, all of my business courses that matriculate to the university. So I had everything planned out, and I just kind of like finished every single class, and that was pretty much it. I didn't go above and beyond, that's for sure. I didn't have the time or the bandwidth to take classes outside of my major, just because I was working full time and
oh,
I had to finish up all those classes within a 1 year and a half, so 3 semesters, in order to be competitive for the UCs.
wow, that's impressive. You're like working full time. Okay, that's totally uh impressive. Who are the professors you connected the most with at IVC and would recommend to other students? And how were you able to connect with them? And how did they help you down the line?
No, for sure. I mean, don't tell this to Berkeley, but so far my professors at IVC have been just phenomenal. Maybe even at a greater caliber than Berkeley. I mean, at Berkeley they're great as well. Like this is only my first semester, so I'm just finding out, and every professor is special in their own ways. But what I'm just trying to say is that IVC, the professors are top notch, and I really value like what they've done for me. Um, so in terms of my major classes, the courses that were taught by the professors were Bennett Tchaikovsky, who was my accounting professor. I cannot stress how amazing of a professor he is. Even if you're not going into business, I think you should take his class because of the value that he brings into the accounting course. His level of teaching and his expertise is a lot greater than some of the top universities, and
Oh, wow.
and he's teaching at a community college level. He's been in the industry for years as a CFO, as an accountant, as a CPA. So he's done it all. So Bennett Tchaikovsky, everyone raves about him. My econ professor, Adam Gulam, he is the full time professor at IVC now. He's amazing. I called him up a couple days ago, right before my econ midterm at Berkeley, and I asked him a question, and he sat with me and he worked through it. So
Wow.
I can't thank him enough for that, just because how close we got. I also like all of the writing professors that I had at IVC. Emily Liu, who is now the director of
Oh,
the honors program. She was my writing two professor. She was there for me throughout the application process. She read through all my essays. She worked with me for my research that I presented at a couple of conferences and I got published.
oh,
And then
wow.
now she's the honors program director, so I'm sending students her way. So she was just amazing. And then Professor Johnson, who's my writing one professor, he's probably out of all the classes I took at IVC, his writing one course was my favorite course. And I hate writing. It's like my least favorite subject. And literature, it's just not fun for me. But he made it so enjoyable. So those are just like four. I can name all of them. I mean, if you want me to, I can, but that's gonna take forever because I can say
Yeah.
things about all of them. They're all so special. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, especially for like college, I think students should be taking benefit of like the close access that we got to professors, unlike the universities where there's like 200, 300 students, and then like, yeah, and
Yeah,
also,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even now at Berkeley, like you're struggling to find a minute to talk with them. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, that's true. What tips would you have for community college students who are looking for internships? How can they differentiate themselves and be able to compete with peers from four-year universities for these positions?
So, are we talking about people that are going to finish their degree at IVC, or are we talking about transfer students who are now in community college and want to transfer to a four-year institution? Who am I speaking with? Who's my audience?
Oh yeah. So for community college students, like who who are like planning to transfer and like going to be transferring soon.
Absolutely. So yeah, I can speak to the students that are going to be at IVC for 4 years. I think that's a great path. But if you're going to be transferring, and let's say you're a business student and you want to go into the industry, recruiting starts day one. It starts your freshman year, and you have to start thinking about this right off the bat.
Oh,
Because I cannot stress how rigorous it is right when you enter Berkeley. I finished my semester at IVC in the spring, and I had seven classes that I was taking over summer, two at Berkeley, five at IVC, and I was trying to recruit at the same time, and I wasn't able to keep up. Just because the students at Berkeley that are continuing students, they start recruiting and they start thinking about recruiting. They're part of clubs, they get coaching, they start all of this freshman, sophomore year, while community college students are worried about and kind of battling the system and trying to become a four-year student. So they're trying to get into those universities. So there's a different mindset for each student. For myself, I think one of the most important things, and the reason why I feel like I got the chance to go to Berkeley, is because I had a breadth of experiences. So as a community college student, you're considered non-traditional. Some students work full time. Some students are are struggling to pay the bills and are saving up in order to go to a four-year institution. And all of these different facets of your life are very powerful for your story. So if you are going to consider recruiting, you got to make sure that while you're at IBC, you got to be going out of your way to do stuff that is going to build your story. Because once you enter those four-year institutions, recruiting starts day one. And you got to have a story that you want to present to those firms.
yeah.
When I was recruiting for PwC, Ernst & Young, all these big accounting and consulting firms, it was very intimidating for me because I know I didn't have all of that experience that these students at a four-year institution at Berkeley had. But what I did have under my belt is that I started my own business. I worked full time. I grinded my butt off at community college. I networked. I did all of this stuff behind the scenes, and that in itself is equally as powerful of a resume than the students that are 4 year. So to recap, if you're going to be recruiting and you want to be recruiting at a four-year institution and you're transferring, you got to start thinking about it now. You got to figure out what you want to do. You got to start networking right away, and you want to have some sort of background that you can pull from. You can be part of clubs. You can work. You can have some sort of smaller internship on the side, but you got to start building your story early on. A lot of students at community college don't even think about that. They think that the hard work is going to start at Berkeley, at UCLA after your transfer. But that's not the case. You're going to come in with no experience. You're going to have nothing on your belt, and you're going to be struggling to gain those experiences and find a job. So I recommend for those students to start thinking early, right off the bat. And it's a difficult thing to do. But if you plan ahead and you're very disciplined and you're responsible about what you want to do and what career you're planning on going into, you're going to be very successful.
Oh wow, that was like so insightful. Like a lot of those stuff, like community college students probably never have thought of.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm saying this is because I was that community college student and knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything about recruiting. I, I didn't know how the job market works. I didn't know how you get a job. You know, I know you have to apply, but once you get to Berkeley, it's all run through the school and you have to apply through their portal and you meet those people through Berkeley. And so there is a lot of competition and I didn't know that. But what I did know is that hard work pays off. And so while I was at community college, I was juggling so many different things. I was a tutor for econ and accounting at the Student Success Center. I worked full time. I had a small business and I was just doing what I love.
Oh,
And
wow.
that translates into success. You know, it's different metrics. People at Berkeley, a lot of the freshmen and sophomores, they're recruiting for consulting clubs. You know, that's how they measure their success. And that's how they gain their own experience in order to be competitive in the job market. But community college students are equally as competitive because they bring in real world experiences. You know, um, you know, they're probably working part time, you know, full time over the summer. They bring in those experiences, they bring in all those insight about the industry, and they're going to be as successful as the people that are continuing. So it's a game that you have to play. It's very difficult, but at the same time, if you're just doing what you love and you're working hard and staying disciplined, you're going to be very successful.
Wow, damn. That's so cool. Let me go to another question. What would be the advice you would give yourself at the beginning of the transfer process? What are some of the key insights you gained while applying to transfer that you would like to pass on to other students?
For sure. I think I just answered it. Start thinking about recruiting early on. I I did not think about recruiting up until my sophomore year of spring semester, but I was okay because I knew my vision is more of entrepreneurship, and I don't really have to go into the job market. I don't have to go into industry because I know I'll be successful with other avenues. But it's still important to start thinking about those processes. I wish I would have practiced how to give an elevator pitch early on. I wish I would have learned how to network early on, like actual networking, reaching out on LinkedIn. I wish that I was able to have a little bit more projects under my belt so I can show employees and employers, sorry, so I can show employers, hey, I did this. But I mean, I'm very proud of like where I came from and where I am now, but I wish I would have planned that out a little early and started thinking about that. And so like if any community college student like wants to speak with me and like lay out a plan, I'll be willing to do so. But the biggest tip I can give myself if I was starting off again at community college is that start thinking about this, start making a plan, and start ironing out those soft skills that are very, very important in business. I don't know, like what do you want to go into? What's your major?
Computer science.
Okay, exactly, right. So if I was a computer science and I was giving you some advice, I would say start learning on your own. You know, start building some sort of app that you can show employers. Create a website for yourself, right? Have experiences that are different than people that are your peers. You know, I've had a lot of friends that are in CS that created apps, that created programs, and when they go into Google and Microsoft and Facebook, they show them, hey, I did this, this, and that. So it shows that you've been working on that on the side rather than just going to school. School is good to learn the concepts, but you want to be practicing and actually implementing what you learn outside of school, because that's what's going to translate into the workforce. When you go into work, they can care less about what grade you got in computer science. What they care about is like what can you actually put out, like what's your value, and you want to make sure that you're working on that early on.
That's completely true. As a business admin major student, what were the top factors you were judging universities on when you choosing the ones to transfer to? What were your top picks and why?
Yeah, I love telling this story because I was so in between going to Berkeley, going to UCLA, and going to UCI. UCI was because it's so close to home. I have my family. I know it's a good school. UCLA because I dreamed of going to UCLA ever since I was young. I was born in LA. So I'm sorry, I wasn't born in LA. I lived in LA when I immigrated to the United States. So I grew up going past UCLA to school. So I loved that university. And in Berkeley. Berkeley was the one school I really didn't want to go to because I was very intimidated by it. Like the students here are very, very smart in another realm, right?
Yeah.
They think outside the box. They're change makers. They're very innovative. They're kind of almost intimidating in a way, right? And when I was measuring which school I wanted to go into, I looked at three categories. Number one was what is the curriculum that you're actually going to learn there? At UCLA, I found that the business economics major is not what I want to do. You're going to be learning basic accounting. You're going to be learning econ on a very high level. And I did not want to learn that. I wanted to get more business soft skills, more communication, more analytics, more marketing, that sort of business education. And the second category I looked in, and I think is very important, is what is the job turnaround, right? At Berkeley, they have some of the highest figures when it comes to students leaving college, and they measure what is the salary that they get right out of college. So that's a good benchmark, and that's a measure that you can track. Usually students from Berkeley, business administration students, have a much higher salary when they leave college than students in another university. So that is very important. That's thinking very practically. And then the last one is the most important, I believe, is the network. At Haas is the business school I'm a part of. Their network of alumni is very, very strong. And I know that wherever I go, if I find someone that went to Haas, that went to Berkeley, that studied business administration, and I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for advice, they will give that to me. So those three areas, the coursework, what is going to be the median income that I get after college if I go to this university, and the alumni network.
Oh wow. Okay, that's actually very practical. I mean, yeah, that's good. What are the resources that community college students don't take enough advantage of?
What are the resources?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Number one, counselors. uh, I'm actually very surprised as to how little students use their counselors for help, for guidance, for feedback, for motivation, for mental support, for everything, right? These counselors are there and they're experts in what they do, right? There's counselors that map out your plan, academic plan. There's also therapists at community college that help you with it in case you have anxiety, in case you're dealing with some sort of emotional stress or trauma at the house. There's all of these amazing counselors that are getting paid top dollar because they're experts, but students don't use them. And so this is a big dichotomy, because I have a friend that went to a community college where the counselors are absolutely incompetent. They don't help them out. They don't track their plan. They don't know all the information. But at IVC and some of the colleges that have more resources, they have top-notch counselors, and students are not using them. So if I was to give advice to someone that's a freshman at community college, go to your counselor, get to know them on a personal basis, make a friendship, and tell them, hey, I want to go to this school. Please help me map out my plan. What do I have to take? Make sure that every single unit that you're taking is for a reason. You don't want to lose time, right? Opportunity cost is very, very important. You don't want to be sitting 2 years at community college and gain nothing as a result of that. You're there for 2 years in order to transfer. So make sure that your time you're using your time to your best ability, right? You're optimizing your time. So use counselors. Number two, like the professors. The professors at community college are the best of the best. I'm telling you, they're the best of the best. They get paid the amazing wages just because of how incredible they are as professors, as industry leaders, as people that have been in the workforce and know exactly how it operates. And I know I'm talking more on the business side, but the same thing can be applied for the CS professors, for the humanities professors, for the psychology professors. All these people are experts for a reason, and they're there to teach because they love to teach, right? So use the professors, talk to them in office hours, talk to them outside of class in the hallways, like get to know them, learn more about their experience. And one thing that the last resource is the tutoring. Like I was a tutor at IVC, and I was providing free tutoring to kids, and I was getting paid for it. I was getting paid to tutor kids. So this is the state funding these programs and giving students free resources that students don't even know exists. So if you're struggling with any sort of class, any sort of concept, just talk to your school and find out where can I get this tutoring? And it's there. Every single school has this because the state funds these operations. So make sure you're getting all the help. And if you don't know who to go to, just book an appointment with a counselor and they'll direct you to someone that can help you out.
Yeah. What are when writing your personal insight questions, were there any strategies that you used? Did you attempt to have like a story, like narrative, or did you answer questions head on? Or
Yeah. Very, very good question. I think this is the key to get into universities, and because when they look at your resume and they assess whether you are a good fit for a university, they take a look at your GPA. That's about 40% of it. That weeds out people. But then the rest of it is your extracurriculars and your essays. And so your essays are by far the most important factor in whether you're going to get into a good school or not. And those questions should be questions that basically make or break it for you. And so you want to put all your heart, all of your blood, sweat, and tears into those essays. And you have to show the school that, hey, I am more than just a GPA number. I have this talent. I love to do this. I volunteer here. And this is a chance for you to speak to those evaluators and tell them, hey, I'm this student. I want to be in your school. I'm special. Please let me in. And so you want to look at these essays as a blank canvas. You want to put a story down. One of the tips I read in a book when I was applying to colleges and I was writing these essays is that you want to look at every single sentence, read it over, and ask yourself, can anyone else write this sentence? If the answer is yes, chuck it out. You want to be unique with every single sentence that you write, because I'm telling you, there's going to be 100,000 students writing about COVID and how it's affecting their education. But how many students are going to talk about how they use COVID as an opportunity to help out and give back to this community and learn more about themselves and become a leader and make the world a better place? That's unique. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely.
I wrote about my love for cooking. That was one of the prompts I wrote about. It says, how do you express your creativity? How many students write about cooking? A lot. I'm telling you, a lot of people love cooking.
Yeah.
How many students talk about how cooking literally saved their life and how cooking was the reason why you're interested in business? You see, it's creating a story. You have to tie in your major. You have to tie in your personal values, your own experiences into each of those prompts. So every single question is a story, and you want to take the approach of being unique. And sometimes being unique is thinking outside the box and starting each essay with a question or a statement, something like that.
So earlier, like you said, you were an immigrant.
Yep.
Oh, from where? Like, when did you move?
Yeah, I moved from Israel when I was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been here for quite some time, but yeah, I'm still, I still consider myself, and I always mention that I'm an immigrant. Like, I'm a first generation college student. So
Yeah, that's cool. And then you said, like, you mentioned about the company or something you started. Like, could you tell more about it?
sure. So I started so this goes back to cooking. When I was in high school, I was very overweight. I had type 2 diabetes. Had anxiety. I had depression. And I decided one day that I was going to change my life. And as a result, I got into fitness. I got into health and wellness. I got into motivation. I got into coaching. And in freshman year of college, I became a personal trainer at the gym. And that's where I discovered my love for, working with clients, helping people lose weight. And I found out that the fitness industry is very lucrative. You can monetize it and you can start a business out of it. So I started off with, having a small business where I was training people, right? I had about 10, 15 clients that I was training at their house, and I was making good bank. That's where I learned how to be independent. That's where I learned how to how to control my money, how to invest. I learned a lot of great, real world life skills in business. But then I started seeing that I love to cook and I love to eat healthy. And a lot of people don't know how to eat healthy. They don't have, they don't have the knowledge about what's healthy, what's not. Some people are very busy. They don't have the time to cook. Some of them just need the guidance. And so it started off with me just writing for my clients, like things to eat, some meal plans, some diets. But then I found out that I actually can just make these meals to them and sell it. And so I had about, at my prime, I had about 3 chefs working for me. I had about 500 meals that I was delivering a week. So I was very, very profitable. And up until COVID, up until right before COVID hit, I was actually going to sign a lease for a commercial kitchen, and I was going to scale my operation. But when COVID hit, it really just, it had to take a back seat, and I sadly had to stop what I was doing. But that was my first real startup that I was, working on my own. And I would not have been able to have this opportunity if I went to a 4-year university. I was doing all of this in community college, learning about business and applying it. So that's why it kind of goes full circle. Whatever you're doing at community college, you want to apply it on a real basis in real life. And that will really help you out to develop your story.
That's very cool. And also, aside from the IVC classes, what were the other business courses you took, or like books that you read, or
Sure. Yeah. So if I'm talking to business students, make sure you're taking Excel, complete the courses, get the certificate. The most important class you can take in college. I know that's funny to say, but Excel is king. I really love to read books that talk about psychology, that talk about dealing with people. So Dale Carnegie, how to win friends over, how to influence people, all those books, how to make friends and influence others, right? The Power of Habit, all of these books I love because they're so applicable and they translate into success in the real world. So I would recommend people to read as much as they can, read something that interests them. And another thing is that, if you have a passion, make sure you pursue it. I like to work out. I like to be healthy. I love health and wellness. So I pursued that passion and it fueled me. I probably would have got so burnt out in community college if I didn't explore that passion and I didn't express myself. So whatever passion you have, music, art, literature, express that passion and you'll be able to be very successful. So in terms of other classes, I love my music class. I took a music honors class. I hate reading music. I hate learning about music, but that class was so amazing because it was taught by an orchestra professor. He's actually someone that sings in operas and he plays in orchestras and he's in Hollywood, and he taught me about music on a more sophisticated level. And so definitely explore outside of your major. It's very important, especially if you're a business student. Like take psychology courses, take sociology courses, take courses in humanities, take computer science courses, stuff that kind of makes you a more well-rounded individual. I know that was a lot I threw at you, but yeah.
That was great. Very good. If a student's GPA wasn't so high, like how could the applicant compensate to still have a chance of being admitted in like big schools?
Sure. So in order to answer this question, I have to acknowledge the fact that the first criteria that universities look at you by is your GPA.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but it's their way to screen out applicants and make their job easier. So let's say you want to go to Berkeley and the minimum GPA is 3.7. If you have a 3.5, you can't get in because they throw you off right away. I mean, you can argue whether this is ethical or not unethical, but that's their process. And you have to acknowledge that in order to actually get a chance, you have to meet the minimum threshold GPA. But GPA is not everything. I have seen my friend got denied from Berkeley and he had a 4.0. And I've had other friends that are right now transfer students that did not have a 4.0, but they had an amazing story. I have friends at Berkeley right now that are transfer students in business that are moms that are 55 years old that work that in and out. and still made it to those schools. Because what you do, I mean, what's more important rather than just your grades is what you're doing in community college to pursue your major. They really want to see that. They want to see talent. They want to see someone that is a leader, someone that is helping the community, that is volunteering. They want to see someone that is using their time very effectively. And sometimes thinking outside of the box is actually a better approach, and you'll be more successful. I can tell you a story. One of my friends is actually in the business program with me at Berkeley, and his story was that he wants to get this degree so he can become a political, like a lawyer, so that he can run for mayor of his small little town, which is very corrupt. So he's going to business school so he can think like a businessman and know what these business people are thinking about. He has no intentions to go into the industry and make a lot of money as a business person. He wants to become a mayor to help his small town. And in order to do so, he needs to get a degree, go to law school, and then run for mayor. So it's stuff like that that is very powerful. You need to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Like, why are you pursuing that major? And make sure your essays are very good. Make sure that your extracurriculars mean something to you, and make sure you have a breadth of experiences.
Oh wow, those are really great. And then also, like, what are your tips on productivity and time management? Like, I know you have taken like several courses at the same time, work full time, and all those stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I can give you feedback. I mean, I can give you some inputs of mine, but I first want to preface by saying that I am not the most efficient person. I struggle with procrastination. I, sometimes delay getting some of the big projects done. But one thing I do is I make sure that I plan my schedule accordingly. So I have my Google calendars and everything is booked out. I have post-it notes everywhere across my room. And, I have a different approach. I scatter everything. I make sure everything gets done. But you need to find a system that works for you. Every person is different. So that's why I can just tell you what I do, but I can't give you, I can't tell you what you can do. Everyone is different. Some people have ADHD and they can't really have everything cluttered all over the wall like I do because they're going to get frantic. So they have to find a system that works for you. For me, I make sure I plan everything accordingly. I have bullet points that I check off every single day to keep myself accountable. And I also make sure I have some time to have fun, because that's very important. Because if you don't do that, you're going to implode and you're going to go crazy, especially right now. Right now is very tough with the elections, with COVID, with everything. It's very difficult to stay focused, especially on the computer all day. So, and also drink plenty of water. I mean,
definitely. Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure these are like I have asked a lot, and I think I asked all those questions that are like the critical ones. Is there anything that you would like to just talk about in general, like any other stuff, advice, tips?
Yeah, sure. I think this one is a good way to end it off. Mm-hmm. And something I want to something I want to highlight is that don't be ashamed of being a community college student. Be proud of it. Oh. I know a lot of people that are entering Berkeley, especially that are transfers, have something called imposter syndrome, where they feel like they're not good enough. They feel like they don't deserve to be there. And I struggle with this myself. I think I struggle with it every single day, but I've gotten a lot stronger because I know that I'm here for a reason. And a different path doesn't mean you're dumb, doesn't mean you're incompetent, doesn't mean you're not going to be as successful. People take different paths, but the path they end up on is mostly the same. And when you're a community college student, you have to just be proud of the fact that you have these experiences and don't be shy about it. Especially for business, a lot of these internships and interviews, students hide that they lie, and they hide that they're transfer students. And, when they get in front of the interviewer and they ask them, what's your experiences? They don't tell them that they were in community college, but because they think that they're not going to be as competitive. But that is absolutely not the case. And if a firm throws you out because you're a transfer student, why do you want to be there? You know what I mean? You don't want to be in a firm like that.
Yeah.
So my approach when I was recruiting this this cycle was that at first I actually hid that I was a transfer. I did not put on my resume that I went to IVC.
Oh, wow.
I did not show that I had a 4.0. I just skipped it and I just said Berkeley, GPA 4.0, talked about all my experiences and didn't even talk about the fact that I went to community college and the reason why I did X, Y, and Z, the reason why I had X, Y, and Z job, the reason why I did X, Y, and Z experience and leadership was because I had the opportunity to do that as a transfer student, as a community college student. And so my approach was that I entered the interview, I did my introduction. They asked you, please tell me a little bit about yourself. And I say, hello, my name is Daniel. I am a proud transfer student from Irvine Valley College. I'm here at Berkeley my first semester, and I'm very excited to learn and be a part of this amazing school. And so I start off with that. And you should see the smile on their face. And they're always excited to talk to me because they know that the community college route is becoming much more popular and is actually, in a way, unique to them. So
Damn, I love that. I really love it. Yeah.